This is Patrick Duff, the Rabble Rouser himself, NewJerseyRabbleRouser.com or RabbleRouser.blog. I am coming to you today with a fast 10-minute message here, a quick video podcast that I am going to show you some information. Will be retracting something in this video that I did put out before regarding the $60,000 that the Bridge Commission received, but I'm only retracting based upon new information that was sent to me weeks after I had requested the same information that seemed to just appear out of thin air. So we're going to take a look here real quick. This is about the CARES Act money the Burlington County Bridge Commission received. We'll take a look here. You can see Burlington County Bridge Commission will offer zero interest loans. This is September 24th, 2020, that these loans would be offered to businesses in the Burlington County area for no interest loans, which is pretty good. Zero interest loans here, see, up to $50,000. And you can see financing to any business operating in the county for business-related purchases, expenses, and or improvements. Okay, now that's important because we're going to be finding out that one of these CARES Act loans was not used for that purpose. It was actually used to buy a business, and that was a real nice deal for somebody, but not for the taxpayers, I can tell you that. So here we go. We got the Burlington County Bridge Commission. I put a OPA request in. Now, remember, we just saw that there was in the newspaper saying they're giving this money away. It was on their website. You can go on their website and download the application to get the money. So I asked for the accounting for any and all CARES Act money received by the Burlington County Bridge Commission from 2020 to 2022. We know that article was September 24th, 2020. So it should be pretty easy. I should get the accounting for the money, you know, where the money was spent, who it was given to, right? But that's not what I got. The answer I received from the Bridge Commission, which, by the way, took, I asked on July 21st, and they answered on August 23rd. So over a month for them to let me know that no records, right? Look, accounting for all CARES Act money, right? No records to produce. The commission did not receive any CARES Act money. Now, immediately, that's going to throw up a bit of a red flag, considering I know that in the newspaper, several newspapers, it reported that CARES Act money was received. But as you'll see, there's probably a reason behind this. So we'll go into Burlington County. So I went and asked the county for an accounting of all the money. I wanted to know where the money was spent, where it went, right? And I also asked them for resolutions, the resolutions for the money. And what I found really odd is that there was one, what I reported on prior is that I found odd that there was $60,000 basically paid back into the Bridge Commission that looked like it was handed out to 3 employees. Now, the reason why I said that is because I asked for the accounting, I asked for, you know, the checks for that money, I asked for all 10 different ways I asked for why that money was basically given to these people at the Bridge Commission. I asked for maybe the checks that they gave to them. They said no checks existed. I wasn't getting a straight answer. So I went to print with my article. And about 8 days after I went to print is when I received this here from the David Levinsky. You see October 26th. I believe that the day I asked for originally from him, this was the October 13th by phone, and then I emailed him October 17th or 20th again, and then I had to, email him again to ask for his response. And what the response was this letter that, it's dated May 8th, 2020. So you'd think that if it's dated May 8th, 2020, they would have known this existed well before I had printed my article. But this basically says that they can use up to, if you see, they can basically they can use 60,000 of the 660,000, and actually the way it says here, if you take a look, that they can use up to an additional 10% to defray administrative costs to establish a new RLF and to facilitate basically the lending of these loans. But it clearly says here the 10% for administrative costs is in addition to, not a portion of the funds used to capitalize the RLF. So listen, I have to retract what I said because, listen, this is a letter from the federal government that says that they were allowed to use it. Here you go. But what I can say is that that's the only question they could answer of the several I asked, and we'll get into really, I think, one of the most important parts here. So the accounting for the money. So if you take a look, I finally received the accounting from the county, and when I received this, that's where I found down here, by the way, as I did in the video prior, that this money here was given to these 3 employees, which I found to be odd because there was no accounting for it. At least they couldn't tell me why they received it. Didn't tell me until months after I asked about this money. By the way, those letters should have been produced to me if they had them months ago when I asked about that. Now, what I found strange is, if you see, you have all these different people, but they're connected to businesses, right? So all these LLCs, there's different businesses. This one here is a nonprofit. Okay, we'll get into that at a different time. But this one here I found quite interesting because it's just an individual. There's just an individual that got the loan. See, the man named John Marquin received $50,000 in CARES Act funding. And I found that odd because, what's the business that it was attached to? Was there a business that this was attached to or not? So I went a step further and I asked for a copy of the checks, right? All the checks that the county handed out to the people, because it didn't make sense to me. A check should be written out to people that own a business with a business attached to it, because the business was supposed to be what the loan was for. So I wanted to know, did this person just receive a check out of thin air? You just cut a check for somebody that doesn't have a business for a loan that has to be attached to a business? Open Machine sometimes takes a minute, but I can tell you, there's a check just cut directly to John Marquin for $50,000. So I had to ask David Levinsky when I had a chance to talk to him about this money, about this $50,000. And here's what he had to say, folks. We're going to hear it right now. John Marquin is not a business. It's an individual. An individual got a CARES Act loan. That's not supposed to happen.
No, actually, I mean, he bought a business.
What business is that? Did you hear that? Actually, he bought a business. Let's hear it again. An individual got a CARES Act loan. That's not supposed to happen.
No, actually, I mean, he bought a business.
He bought a business. Did you hear that? So let's listen to what he says just a short time later. What business is that loan attached to? It doesn't say it in the resolution. It just gives the money to an individual. Come on. And I understand that, but what I'm saying is, you have one person that gets it that's just an individual. It's not listed in any business. What's his business? You said he bought a business? Did he buy a business with the CARES Act money?
Again, I'll tell you the name of the business.
But did he buy the business with the CARES Act money?
Sir.
Think about that. You can't do that.
Sir, again, he applied for the loan. It was reviewed, and it was determined he was eligible.
Can you send me?
For the loan.
Can you send me the application?
These are not. I mean, again, loans for individuals. These aren't loans for.
You already said these are not loans for individuals. Now, that's odd because the individual got a loan, just a person. He admitted prior. You heard him say that he bought a business. Now, let's hear what he says now.
For businesses.
So,
again, I will find you the name of the business that he received the loan for.
David, just so you understand, by the way, I've still yet to receive the name of the business, and we're several days after this conversation. I'm happy. I closed my business during the whole COVID thing. I had to close my business. If you're telling me that this person got a CARES Act loan and then bought a business with it, that is a big issue. If he didn't already own that business.
Sir, I didn't say he bought a business.
What did you? He said, I didn't say he bought a business. We heard what you just said. You said he bought a business, and you're going to try to find out what the name of the business is, and that these loans weren't meant for individuals, but an individual received it. So you can't get around that. There's no way possible. The business was registered on August 1st almost 2 months after the loan was granted to Mr. Marquand. Now, I don't know who Mr. Marquand is. I do know that I found the a business that it's attached to. I'm going to leave the name of the business out right now. But the county and the Bridge Commission uh, loaned an individual money to buy a business. And I have a problem with that. And I think other people should too. The fact is that uh, not only did they loan him the individual money, but David Levinsky is the reporter that actually reported on the CARES Act loans when they originally were actually loaned, or I apologize, when the Bridge Commission was awarded the money. And then all of a sudden, he gets a job as the public information officer at Burlington County. It's just, listen, folks, it's election season. This is my recommendation for everybody. If you're in a Republican-controlled town, elect some Democrats. If you're in a democratically controlled town, elect some Republicans. If you are in, a county that's all Democratic for the committee, this is what you're going to get. I mean, no oversight. I mean, the executive director of the Bridge Commission is a man named Joe Andel. He is also the chairman of the Democratic Party in Burlington County. So he picks the candidates that run for the commissioner's seat that oversee his activities at the Bridge Commission. Raises the Bridge Commission. The treasurer went from 179,000 to 256,000 in just 3 years. The executive director, Andel, gave himself a raise of over $60,000 in just 3 years. So, listen, folks, the car stipends for everybody, while they're laying people off. 23 people got laid off in 2020, and the pay increased massively for the administration. So, if you're electing representatives this election cycle, remember that there needs to be some balance, and that's my only political statement this season that I'm going to make, because I don't support one party or the other. I just can't see how we got to the point where we are, and people are literally scared to make a move in life because the people above them use their offices like they are tyrants, and I'm just not into that. So, Rabble Rouser Media, I need you to stand up for yourself out there. Watchdogs, keep watching, and sometimes you have to bark a bit, and you have to bite a bit. Peace out.